Ladies and gentlemen, today a review of Challengers. From the IMDb synopsis, Tisha, a former tennis prodigy turned coach, turned her husband into a champion, but to overcome a losing streak, he needs to face his ex-best friend and Tisha's ex-boyfriend. I have to say that I had a really deliciously fun time with this movie. It definitely plays to what the trailer kind of alluded to, in it being kind of an erotic thriller, but honestly, it doesn't really hit the heights of what that trailer really wanted it to be. This movie has a little bit of that for sure, but it ends up really being a movie about competitiveness and the competitive nature that each of us have, or how that competitive nature changes and can move depending on the relationships we live or the life we lead, or in the case of the movie, the kind of career someone can have. It is told through the lens of the relationship of the three main characters. Shoutouts to Zendaya, Mike Fest, and Josh O'Connor. The biggest strengths of this movie really does lie in the performances of these actors. Very much one of the best acted movies I've seen this year. And each character brings a different sense of self to the role and the story and the plot. As the movie begins, we are thrusted into a match between the characters that are played by Mike Fist and Josh O'Connor. But as the movie moves along, we do move through time. And I do like that aspect of it. It's very Nolan-esque, which I will say I'm not always a fan of the Nolan time jumping, but I think here it is quite effective. The whole movie does take place in the present where this match is happening, but as we move back in time and the story and the plot develop, it informs the present match in a way that really does carry throughout the entire movie, in a way that I thought was really effective. And I think also with a lot of Nolan movies, it can be a bit distracting in that the time jumps here are pretty vast and happen quickly. Sometimes you're moving all the way back 13 years, and sometimes you're moving 3 months before the match to literally a day before the match, and then back to 13 years later, and then back 11 years later. It can get a little distracting. However, the director here, Luca Guadagnino, does a fantastic job of blending those performances that are informed by the time jumps with incredible subtext that really help inform the audience of exactly what is going to happen. This is a very well-written script that was funny, that I thought really hit on all the proper cylinders that a good script like this should. The character that Zendaya plays, Tashi, which is kind of the catalyst for this whole thing, is an extremely competitive person whose attraction to these two men really does set forth the story that takes place here. She's a tennis star that has everything going for her. And Mike Fist and Josh O'Connell play two tennis stars that are just up and coming, not quite there to the magnitude of star that she is, but they are both enamored with Tashi. And during a match where all three of these characters meet, you get this hotel room scene that I'm sure you've seen in all the trailers, and the way the trailer kind of plays out that scene doesn't really match to the energy that exactly happens in its scene. It feels more erotic and thrilling in the trailer, but it's a lot more light and a little bit more fun and funny. There's a lot of humor throughout this script that I was actually pleasantly surprised by. And after that meeting, you really start to understand the character of all three of these people and how they interact with each other and how they are different. You have Josh O'Connell, who plays more of the bad boy, playboy type, who will do everything he can to get what he wants. And then Mike Fest's character, who is more of a passive, passionate person, and Zendaya's character, who is much more of a type A personality who tries to control things around her as much as she can. And as the movie and plot roll on, the story of these three people becomes even more intertwined as the trials and tribulations of a love triangle begins to fester and show itself. It is a sports movie. It's a tennis movie that really is shot very well. The tennis scenes, I thought, were very masterfully crafted. There are moments where you are getting to feel the tension and power of both players on the field. And as the story continues in the background of the time jumping, the tension of the scene between Mike Fest and Josh O'Connell just rises to a level where towards the end you feel the crescendo in a real passionate way. I have to also highlight the score of the movie. This is a Trent Reznor score, so every once in a while it is very electric, it's very boisterous, and every once in a while there is the decision to make the soundtrack a bit overbearing to the point where you kind of don't understand the words that are coming out of some of the characters' mouths. Also, again, very Nolan-esque. And I do think it can become a bit as distracting for sure because I kind of want to know what these guys are saying. But other than that, I had a really, really fun time at the movies. Now, if you've watched the trailer, you kind of know what you're getting into, but I think it's better than what the trailer kind of sussed out for you. This is much more of an elevated romantic love triangle thriller that is told through the lens of tennis and competitiveness. I give Challengers an 8 out of 10. I had a fantastic time with this movie. If you've seen the trailer, you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. Zendaya brings out an incredible performance, I think one of her best performances to date, where she plays Tesha, a kind of very competitive, no-nonsense A-type personality who gets involved with these two tennis players played by Josh O'Connell and Mike Fist, whose relationship gets strained by her involvement in it, but eventually turns into kind of a love triangle thriller that is told through the lens of sports, a tennis movie, where the director, Luca Guadagnino, does a fantastic job of mixing tenseness with great storytelling and masterful performances to bring what I think is a taut sports romantic thriller. I had a great time. Thank you very much for watching, guys.